time for Torino. But before that, that's better. Torino were the best Italian club in the 40s. Sadly, the Superga air disaster on May 4th, 1949 wiped the vast majority of the side. I would implore you to learn more about this team, as most of the Italian national team consisted of their players, and their manager Erno Erbstein was one of the most important football minds at the time. There are multiple goals I have made for this adventure. Finishing above city rivals Juventus and becoming the better team in Turin would be fantastic. Ignoring Calciopoli, they haven't done that since 1991. Winning a Coppa Italia would be great, as they haven't won one since 1993. Finally, winning their first Serie A title since 1976 would be the cherry on top. Anything else would be extra. So how did the season go?
Not bad.
The side were 10th in the season preview and had little to no money to make transfers. We did bring in Simone Bastoni from Spezia for $2.5 million. On the outs, a couple loans, plus Voivoda sold to Rapid Vienna and Gigi to Cagliari for roughly $3 million each. Tactics wise, we need to go Italian. Not by shape, but by roles. We got a regista, double the mezzala, and up top, we are using a trequartista. With the side having a lot of midfielders and a real lack of wingers, I felt this 4-1-3-2 shape was the best to fit the players and the roles I wanted. With wins in the first two fixtures, I was excited for the match versus Napoli.
All for one.
Well, that result shouldn't matter later on. Let's talk about Roma. Saying that they started the season poorly would be an understatement. Of course, Jose Mourinho is the manager, and it seemed like he would get his first victory against us.
Very, very nice.
We couldn't let that guy become smug in our home, so we tried to get more adventurous. A surprisingly nice finish from Bremer came in the 75th minute, and just a couple minutes later, Brecalo, who came on in the trequartista role, tapped home a rebound for his first of the season, and another loss for Mourinho.
Look, the referee has to explain.
Two more followed for the special one, and his side really struggled to win, as in late November, he was sacked.
In the morning.
His replacement, Roberto Mancini. Wait, what? Italy did not finish first in their World Cup qualifying group, and I guess Mancini saw his future written in the stars, and just quit. I sent my application in for the job, but they chose Claudio Ranieri.
Next question.
Dilly-ding-dilly-dong, come on.
Back to our season, a disappointing last-minute draw with Genoa, and a great draw to come back versus Inter followed. Then came the first Derby della Mole, aka the Turin Darby, which has been dominated by Juventus. Torino haven't defeated them since 2015, and realistically, a draw would suffice away from home. That was the case, but for some reason, a certain part of my brain told me to
Go bold.
I thought it was a great idea to go positive for the last 10 minutes. A highlight then immediately occurs. We lose the ball, Juventus goes down the pitch, Rabiot shoots, and with the aid of my keeper's arms not working, Rabiot scores. Now we should have bounced back with 3 wins in a row, but in the match versus Atalanta, Miranchuk decided to do this in the 89th minute. We somehow lost to Cagliari right after. I don't want to talk about it. Up next was Fiorentina, and during my hiring process, I had the choice between them or Torino. Thank goodness I chose Torino, as Fiorentina were in the relegation zone. At this point, I decided to make the pressing forward on support rather than defend, as Belotti only had 3 goals at this point. I also made Brecalo my trequartista, as Sanabria wasn't cutting it. It may have been genius, or Fiorentina down on their luck, as Brecalo got a brace and Belotti scored 2. Following that, Fiorentina sacked Italiano with everything looking Wait. What the heck? Anyways, Jurg came in and steadied the ship until the end of the season. 3 victories came after, including an important one versus Lazio and a Brecalo hat-trick versus Sampdoria. The season was going relatively well, and we could push ourselves not only into a Champions League spot, but a title contending spot. AC Milan were the next opponents, but could we show that we were the real deal? No. Zlatan off a corner and this lucky deflection gave Milan a 2-0 victory. To be fair, they somehow chalked this for offside. You tell me. Despite that roadblock, we won our next 3 matches and were in 4th place halfway through the season. 6 points above Inter, who ended up sacking Inzaghi, but most importantly, 13 points above Juventus. In January, we had the challenge of AFCON, meaning 3 of our fullbacks were not selectable. Speaking of better defense, it's pretty good with some promise to grow. Bremer is great technically, and while he has weaknesses, him and Singo are our most valuable players, monetarily wise. Ola Aina was used occasionally, and Tharas barely played in the second half of this season. Surprisingly, Ricardo Rodriguez was pretty good. I remember all the hype he had in the mid-2010s, and then just heard bad things about his time at AC Milan. Itzo was useful, and there's also the Czech Zima who has a lot of promise, but the best defender by average rating was Butragueno. That's not his name. I just saw B and U and just called him that for the entire season. Alright, what's his actual name? Buongiorno? Wait, doesn't that mean... His name is Good Morning?
Buongiorno.
Anyways, despite the loss to AC Milan, we went on an incredible run of form, going 13 undefeated, including 11 wins. Brecalo and Belotti were popping off. They were scoring goal after goal as we were getting through each opponent. Their contributions included an Africanless win versus Napoli and a 3-2 victory against Inter at the San Siro. We did draw Mancini's Roma, which was kind of annoying because the equalizer came late, but I didn't manage the game well in the last 5 minutes. The most important victory of all was, of course, in the Darby della Mole at home. Juventus took an early lead, which was cancelled out by Belotti 6 minutes later. Then in the 54th minute, Izzo, who was playing at right back for the injured Singo, don't give him a red. Don't give him a red. He gave a red. I kept the two strikers, made a few tactical tweaks, and took Lukic off for Aina, who probably should have started. 5 minutes later, he showed why. But Belotti! Oh my gosh! Belotti out of nothing! However, that wasn't enough. Brecalo in behind potentially. Oh my gosh! Pobega! Juventus were so crap. Just look at this. The funny thing is, they didn't sack Allegri until near the end of the season. And that's one thing I love about Serie A. The amount of managers that get sacked. 8 got the boot, and I'll be honest, I'm surprised there wasn't more. Nevertheless, thanks to Allegri being a fraud, we completed 1 goal. Let's talk about Pobega though. Not only was that strike goal of the month, it was also goal of the season. I played him more in the center mid on attack, leading to a lot of chances, but for the longest time, he would miss some easy one-on-ones. Then during the final stretch of the season, he would become a monster, finishing with 10 goals and 9 assists in the league. It's a shame I won't be able to buy him. The other midfielders did an okay job, with the Regista Ricci being the best of the rest. I forgot to mention, we lost the Coppa Italia quarterfinal to last place Udinese, as Gerard Deulofeu decided to have the match of his career. They ended up losing to AC Milan in the final. The match that ended our undefeated run in Serie A was against Atalanta. We were winning 1-0 thanks to Brecalo, but as Atalanta were piling on pressure, they won a penalty from somewhere and scored a second in the 81st minute. Despite that, BBP stepped up with a great victory against Fiorentina. That put us on top for the first time this season. While our assistant was more infatuated by Lukic, we genuinely had a real chance at this title. And with Lazio next, could we propel ourselves even further? I changed my tactics to the classic 4-2-2, but I made it a goal too late, making this title race even more interesting. 2 wins followed with a blowout at Udinese and a win against Gattuso's Sampdoria, where Lukic and Sanabria scored in the last 10 minutes. 1st to 6 were separated by 5 points, and I've never seen a title race breakdown show 6 teams. We were tied with Napoli for 1st, behind them not on regular goal difference, but head-to-head goal difference. That 3-0 result may be important. Lazio and AC Milan were only 2 points behind, and we had Milan next. The first half only had 1 highlight, until we got closer to the 45th minute. Oh, Frank, the tank Kessie is off. Milan are down to 10 men. At the San Siro, we had the chance to upset the odds, but time was going by fast. But will we be able to find an opportunity? Ricci. Oh, Samuel Ricci! From distance, 1-0 Torino over AC Milan! Pobega would add another against his parent club as AC Milan were kicked out of this title race. It was down to us, Napoli, and Lazio. All Napoli needed to do was to win their final 3 matches, and they'd win their first Scudetto since Maradona. We needed to win all 3 matches, but it may not be enough. However, Lazio's the other contender, and they play Napoli on the final day. Wins came from all sides on match day 36, leading to the penultimate day of the season with our match versus Venezia. Mandragora scored a brilliant goal to put us 1-0 up, Brecalo would find the back of the net in the 50th minute, and Bremer would score a header giving us a 3-0 lead with a half hour left. Napoli and Lazio won their game, so it seems like everything was going to be the same. But then Singo scored an own goal that seemed highly unnecessary since there was no pressure. But that's fine. Venezia has barely threatened, and they just made it 3-2 on 0.18 expected goals. Prior to that, I made several subs, and in the 90th minute, I made another to kill the clock. A highlight immediately occurred. What? Highlight? Weird feeling about this. Please be offside. What the heck? What? This game was over. Oh my gosh. 3 goals on 0.38 expected goals? With that, we were 2 points behind Napoli and tied with Lazio. Now you might think there's still a chance since those two play each other. Nope. Napoli wins the league with a win and with a draw due to our head-to-head. If Lazio wins, they win the league since our head-to-head is equal and they have a superior goal difference. That only mattered if we won, which we didn't by the way. Lazio won, meaning Maurizio Sarri won the league title in Naples with Lazio. You can't make this up.